Good afternoon, everyone. Last class, we have discussed about uh, why were temples destroyed. Why were temples destroyed? So we learned with the example of the Pandian king Srimara Srivallabha, how, and also we learned how the ruler of Sri Lanka has taken a revenge also, and afterwards we learnt with the example of Rajendra first, who was the king of Chola. See, let us discuss about Sultan Muhammad of Ghazni. Sultan Muhammad of Ghazni. Muhammad Ghazni. ಸೊ ಮಹಮ್ಮದ್ ಗಜ್ನಿ ಹೆಸರು ಬಹಳ ಚಿರಪರಿಚಿತ ಮಕ್ಕಳು, ಚಿರಪರಿಚಿತ. ಯಾಕೆಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನಗಳನ್ನು ನಾಶ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಈತ ಎತ್ತಿದ ಕೈ ಭಾರತದಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ಮಹಮ್ಮದ್ ಗಜ್ನಿ ವಾಸ್ ಎ ಕಾಂಟೆಂಪರರಿ ಆಫ್ ರಾಜೇಂದ್ರ ಫಸ್ಟ್. Was a contemporary of Rajendra first. See, during his campaigns in our subcontinent, so he was attacked the temples of defeated kings and looted their wealth and idols. ಸೊ ಲೂಟಿ ಮಾಡೋದೇ ಈತನ ದಾಳಿಯ ಪ್ರಮುಖ ಉದ್ದೇಶ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಲೂಟಿ ಮಾಡೋದು ಸೊ ಮೊಹಮ್ಮದ್ ಗಜ್ನಿಯ ಪ್ರಮುಖವಾದಂತಹ ಉದ್ದೇಶ. ಸೊ ಈ ವಾಸ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ attacked so many temples in our subcontinent and defeated kings and looted their wealth and idols. So Muhammad Ghazni actually was not a very important ruler at that time. ಅಂತಹ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂತ ಸುಪ್ರಸಿದ್ಧ ಆಡಳಿತಗಾರನೂ ಅಲ್ಲ ಅಥವಾ ಕಿಂಗೂ ಅಲ್ಲ ಮಕ್ಕಳು. ಬಟ್ by destroying temples, especially the one at, you all knows that the Somnatha temple. So he tried to win credit as a great hero of Islam by attacking Somnatha temple. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳ? So basically was not that much a popular king during the time. So even though after the attack of Somnath temple, so he tried to win credit as a great hero of Islam. ಸೊ ಸೋಮನಾಥ ದೇವಾಲಯದ ಮೇಲೆ ದಾಳಿ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಇಸ್ಲಾಂನ ಪ್ರಮುಖ ಹೀರೋ ಅಂತೇಳಿ, ಇಸ್ಲಾಂ ಧರ್ಮದ ನಾಯಕ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಬಿಂಬಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. In the political culture of the Middle Ages, most rulers displayed their political might and military successes by attacking and looting the places of worship of defeated rulers. ಇದೊಂದು ಕಲ್ಚರೇ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿತ್ತು ಮಕ್ಕಳು. That has become the culture during the Middle Ages rulers. ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, so they wanted to display their political might, their political power and military success. ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ? By attacking and looting the places of worship of defeated rulers. ಯಾವ ರಾಜರುಗಳನ್ನು ಸೋಲಿಸ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಆ ರಾಜರ ವ್ಯಾಪ್ತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಂತಹ ಆ ಒಂದು ವರ್ಷಿಪ್ ಕೇಂದ್ರಗಳೇನಿದೆ, ಧಾರ್ಮಿಕ ಕೇಂದ್ರಗಳೇನಿದೆ, ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನಗಳಿದೆ, ಅವುಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಅಟ್ಯಾಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅವುಗಳನ್ನ ಲೂಟಿ ಮಾಡಿ understood now. So it's very common in the Middle Ages. Almost all rulers, so they were displayed their political might and military success by attacking and looting the places of worship of defeated rulers. Now let us discuss about gardens, tombs and forts. gardens, tombs, and forts. Gardens, tombs, and forts. Getting now? See, under the Mughal rulers, architecture became more complex. Under the Mughal rulers, architecture became more complex. Even the Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, especially Shah Jahan, so they were all personally interested in literature, art, and architecture. Almost all Mughal rulers. Are you understanding, dear students? So, the most of the Mughal rulers, so they were very much interested in literature, art, and architecture. So, especially Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, and Shah Jahan. So, during these Mughal rulers, architecture became more complex. Architecture became more complex under the Mughal rulers. See, in his autobiography, Babur described his interest in planning and laying out formal gardens. Getting these students. So, in his autobiography, Babur described his interest in planning and laying out formal gardens. So, placed within rectangular walled enclosures and divided into four quarters by artificial channels. By artificial channels. So, that was clearly explained in his autobiography. Are you getting these students? So, Babur, he was described his interest in planning and laying out formal gardens. Was that Babur? So, where he was explained in his autobiography. So, it described that interest in planning and laying out. Planning and laying out formal gardens. See how it was actually. See the formal gardens placed within a rectangular walled enclosures and divided into four quarters. Understood now? So, the gardens placed within a rectangular shape, walled enclosures, and divided into four quarters by artificial channels. So, this was explained in his autobiography. See, these gardens were called Chahar Bagh. So, these kind of gardens are called as Chahar Bagh. Getting dear students? So, these type of gardens were called Chahar Bagh. So, Chahar Bagh means the name itself shows that Chahar. That means four gardens. Bagh means garden. Okay, the meaning of a bagh, garden, Chahar, four. It means four gardens. Four gardens. See, why? Because now It's known as or called as Chahar Bagh of Gardens. See, Chahar Bagh. Chahar Bagh means four gardens. Four gardens. So why it's called four gardens or Chahar Bagh? See, because of their symmetrical division into quarters. Because of their symmetrical division into quarters. See, beginning with Akbar, some of the most beautiful Chahar Baghs were constructed by even Jahangir and Shah Jahan in Kashmir, Agra and Delhi. So, like these gardens, I mean these Chahar Bagh gardens, so it's actually constructed by Akbar, Jahangir, and Shah Jahan, even in Kashmir also, and Agra also, and even in Delhi also. Getting these students. See that you can observe in page number 66, figure 9. So the Chahar Bagh in Humayun's tomb, Delhi, understood, which was constructed by Humayun. So how beautifully it was constructed, that you can see in that figure also. See, there were several important architectural innovations, especially during Akbar periods. So several important architectural innovations during Akbar's administration. For inspiration, Akbar's architects turned to the tombs of his Central Asian ancestor. Was that anybody? Can you guess? The Central Asian ancestor? Anybody can you guess? Taimur. So Taimur, he was actually the Central Asian ancestor. Understood? So he was actually inspired by Akbar. He was inspired by the central towering dome and the tall gateway, which is called as a Pistak, became important aspects of Mughal architecture. So, the central towering dome, the tall gateway, so these are became important aspects of Mughal architecture. First visible in Humayun. So, these are all the first time visible in Humayun's tomb. Understood? So, the tomb architecture. So, first visible in Humayun's tomb only. The tomb was placed in the center of a huge formal Chahar Bagh and built in the tradition, so that known as Hate Paradises, and also it is called as Hast Behist. Hast Behist. Hast Behist का क्या मतलब? Hast Behist. So Hast means hate paradises. So are you able to follow me? So Astabihist means hate paradises, a central hall surrounded by 8 rooms also. A central hall surrounded by 8 rooms. The building was constructed with red sandstone, edged with white marble. So this is about Humayun's tomb. Getting dear students. So the Humayun tomb, it was placed in the center of a huge formal Chahar Bagh and built in the tradition known as Hust Behest or Eight Paradise. A central hall surrounded by 8 rooms, and the building was constructed with red sandstone. What was the material they were used to construct this building? No, I mean this the tomb. No, so they were used sandstone, edged with white marble. See, during Shah Jahan's administration, that the different elements of Mughal architecture were fused together in a grand harmonious synthesis. So, especially dear students, during Shah Jahan's reign, the different elements of Mughal architecture were fused together in a grand harmonious synthesis. His reign witnessed a huge amount of construction activity, especially in Agra and Delhi. So there were so many the constructions done by Shah Jahan, especially in Agra and Delhi. The ceremonial halls of public and private audience, that is called as Diwan-i-Khas Aham. Diwan-i-Khas Aham. So it was carefully planned. What is this? So this is actually the ceremonial halls of public and private audience. Ceremonial halls of public and private audience. So which will called as Diwan-i-Khas-o-Am. Diwan-i-Khas-o-Am. So they were carefully planned. Placed within a large courtyard, these courts were also described as Chichil Sultan. Understood now? So, based on actually how now? So, these are placed within a large courtyard, and these courts were also described as Chihil Sutun. Chihil Sutun means, what is the meaning of? Chihil Sutun. So that means 40 pillared halls. 40 pillared halls. So these 40 pillared halls, all known as Chihil Sutun. It was described as Chihil Sutun. Shah Jahan's audience halls were specially constructed to resemble a mosque. Getting these students. So Shah Jahan's audience halls were specially constructed to resemble a mosque. The pedestal on which his throne was placed was frequently described as Qibla. Frequently described as Qibla. So what was described as a Qibla? No? So that is the pedestal on which his throne was placed. Which his throne was placed, that was frequently described as the Qibla. The direction faced by Muslims at prayer. So Muslim ಧರ್ಮದ ಜನಾಂಗದವರು ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥನೆ ಮಾಡತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಯಾವ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಮುಖವನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನ ಅವರು ಕಿಬ್ಲಾ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. That is what the direction faced by Muslims at prayer. So since everybody faced that direction when court was in session, the idea of the king as a representative of God on earth was suggested by these architectural features. Are you getting these students? The idea of the king as a representative of God on earth was suggested by these architectural features. See, the connection between royal justice and the imperial court was emphasized by Shah Jahan in his The Emperor's Throne, that were a series of pietra dura inlays that depicted the legendary Greek god Orpheus playing the lute. So once again I would like to repeat that the connection between royal justice and the imperial court. Royal justice and imperial court was emphasized by Shah Jahan in his The Emperor's Throne, where a series of pietra dura. What is the meaning of pietra dura? Pietra dura. So, pietra dura, that means colored hard stones placed in depressions carved into marble. Pietra dura means what now? Colored hard stones placed in depressions carved into marble or sandstone creating beautiful ornate patterns. Whether it may marble or it may sandstone. Understood now? So, once again I would like to repeat the pietra dura, that means colored hard stones placed in depressions carved into marble or sandstone creating beautiful ornate patterns. Understood, dear students? So this is what actually depicted the legendary Greek god. So the depicted legendary Greek god Orpheus. So Orpheus was Greek god. Understood now? See, actually here the Greek god Orpheus playing the lute. That is one of the musical instrument. So it was believed that Orpheus' music could calm ferocious beasts until they coexisted together peaceably. The construction of Shah Jahan's audience hall aimed to communicate that the King Justice would treat the high and low as equals, creating a world where all could live together in harmony. What a beautiful concept here. So this is what the aim, whatever it was constructed. So the construction of especially Shah Jahan's audience hall aimed to communicate that the king's justice would treat the high and the low as equals, creating a world where all could live together in harmony. Understood, dear students? So this is what a very special from Shah Jahan architecture. Then regarding this topic, I would like to continue in the next class. Thank you. Have a nice day.